Yeah, so good evening once more. Like request every one of us to start us off with a prayer, and then from there we will proceed. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, someone to kindly lead us with a prayer so that we can proceed. Andrew. Okay, anyone there to lead us? Okay, proceed, proceed.
So let's pray.
Well,
Okay. Dear Lord, we say thank you for this day. Thank you for your mercies, and thank you for the chance that you've given us to learn more and to also understand more and gain more on our skills. May be with us. In Jesus' mighty name, try and believe. Amen.
Amen. Yeah, thank you once more. So today we will be going through system administration, understanding its importance, and then from there getting into a hands-on practical where we will be able to interact with the CentOS operating system that was as the instruction that you are given. So from this moment, I'll just first of all start by giving a brief explanation of what system administration is. This is a technical process that involves the leading or the control of systems in order to achieve various end goals. That is like in aspects such as management of files, the management of the network, the management of software, and the security of systems in general. From there, I believe I can share my screen. Mm, if my screen is visible, kindly respond via the chat box, and then from there we can proceed whenever we are ready. Anyone? It's visible. So just a moment, I switch to the CentOS. Yeah, now this is like the basic. In case I'm not audible or something of the sort, you can just freely inform me via the chat box. So I believe we can now begin. So the CentOS operating system is one of the most commonly used systems for system administration, and you will come to realize there are a lot of variants, but one good thing is that when you learn one variant, adapting to another will be easy because the commands are very closely related. And then we have something known as a distro, in that it's a variant or a flavor of an operating system that is mainly used for system administration. The commonly used ones for system administration are the CentOS, Ubuntu, and OpenSUSE. Uh, CentOS is a free version of the Red Hat Linux, and both distributions are built on top of another platform known as Fedora. And then you'll come to learn that once a new version is developed by Fedora, it is usually released to Red Hat Linux Enterprise, that is RHEL Linux. Now this is like another type of Linux, but one from there later on, after some time, you'll come to see those updates that will be coming to that system. Also, other operating systems that are developed are the Debian. The Debian is like a whole type of system, and it are systems like Ubuntu, and then we have others like OpenSUSE. I believe we are all able to install CentOS in our machines, and everyone was went with a smooth summary of that system. So we will start. Uh, Obviously, it has something known as a terminal. So there are two types of just a moment. So you will come to realize that there are various variants that come along, and also to work with such variants, they all have a terminal in common, and you will come to learn about it shortly. So just a moment, I push this one down. Yeah, we can now begin. So we'll start off by opening our terminal, which can be opened by right-clicking this part and then click on Open Terminal. Yeah, so this is like the terminal where you'll be able to type your commands after logging in. So for instance, if we say, who am I? It will give you the identity of who is the current user of that system. Let me zoom in a little bit. Yeah, so who am I? You'll be able to view who is the current user of that system, and then now there's another thing known as host name. Host name is like where you are, where the hosting is done, or the platform where the hosting is done in the application. And also it's like this one, the localhost that you're seeing here. This is like the host name. Yeah, so it's like where you are, like the company organization name or something of the sort. And also you can also get the date for today. It's current. Okay, I think I'll have to update this one. That's also another commonly used command. Now, another thing, let's get into some security aspect of it. In the aspect of trying to change the password. So it's very simple. So passwd is the command that is usually used to change the password of your system. And let's say from there, we can just click enter. So we are currently in root. So I'll just type a new password. Let's say something like, yeah, then confirm. And all authentication tokens have been updated successfully. Yeah, so just a moment. So let's proceed. So you will come to, we'll now look at the creation of a file, but it's a very simple process. So first of all, before we create the file, what if we wanted to know where we are? I believe most of us have interacted with Windows systems. Now, you just know naturally. You can click on the properties or the current location and then know where you are. But for this one, to know where you are, you just type pwd, which stands for print working directory, and we are currently in the desktop location. And then from there, just a simple command before we go specifically into the folders that you are to do. We will try to create a file. So to create a file, let's call it yeah, you can change the password of an existing user. Wait, we'll come to handle that in a moment. So to create a file, we just use the touch command, and then from there we type the name of the file. So let's call it test.txt. Yeah. So we have a file called test.txt. To view whatever is in that file or whatever the contents in that file, we just type okay, before we view the contents, let's see the files that are in the current directory. So to do that, we do ls-a. We are listing the A is used to stand for all, for everything, like everything in that. So if the file that you have created is known as test.txt, and then from there, what if we created another non-CIT React? So we create a second one called test2. Yeah, it has been created, so we can do an ls. So we have the test2 and then the test file. Yeah. So we can also be able to get the logs. We are just having an overview kind of training for now, but then progressively we'll go specifically into the various topics. But this is just a general approach before we get deeper into that. So these are like the logs. The root had logged in at this time, let's see, and then a user by the name of Kevin at that time. Things of the such progressively as we move on. So to clear the terminal, we just type clear. Then we have something like a clean platform. Yeah. So from there, you'll come to realize that we may be wanting to know what is the role of a certain command. So in trying to identify the role of that certain command, we have the help function. So let's say we have come to realize that the uname uname will give us Linux. So what does uname mean? So you can just type uname -- help. Yeah. So we can be able to view something here. It is used to print certain system information with no option. So it's like giving details about the system. So you can get the kernel, the name, the machine, the processor, and things like the hardware platform it's working on. So that's like the help function that is used for this system. So, and another option to get help is using there's something known as man tables. There are 8 levels of man tables depending on the functionality that you'd like to use. So in the moment, I will be able to show one. So you can just type man dash a pass wd. So you can see it's more of a deeper description of the password command and the commands that can come along with it. So for instance, pass wd-n, it will set the system minimum password lifetime in days if the user account supports password lifetimes and it's available to root only. So you can refer to this when you're trying to improve the security. So you can also try to look through the man tables of various commands if you're making a configurations like creating a new user to be able to understand to understand what is happening. So mm, so I believe now we can proceed to our first topic, which will be just a moment. Before we move to the first bit, just a moment. I stopped sharing my screen. Okay, great. We can now yeah. So we will start off with the file systems where and kindly enable me to share the screen. Hello, Steve.
Yes, yes.
Kindly enable me to share the screen.
Okay, just a moment. Okay, try on your side. Awesome. I am not sure we can quite hear you.
Oh, sorry for that. So as I was saying, I will start off with the file system, and the file system is like the way that or the directory is that hierarchy in which files are organized, and then we will come to see how they are organized. So so we have talked about PWD. So we are currently in the desktop folder, and we are currently under the root. The root is like the main user of the system. So while we are at root, we can just type the cd and then the backslash. We will go to the default or the base directory for the user that is in that system. So and then we can do an ls to check where can we move next. Yeah, so we can move to any file that is, or any directory that is in there. So for instance, we can navigate to root, and then you see it has changed from a slash to this kind of hyphen. So you'll come to realize that this is like the symbol for navigating to root. So we can do a pwd one more time, and you see in the root, yeah, and then you can see what is in there. Yeah, so we have the downloads, the desktop, the documents, and the music. It's like, it's more of an almost similar uh, what is usually there in the Windows system. So we have learned about the listing of files. That is usually done using the ls. So let me clear this so that it can be visible. So when you do an ls, you'll be able to list all the files that are available in that system, the files and the folders. And then to show the files while they are sorted in a certain version, let's say while they are modified by time of things of the search, so we can do an ls.-lrt. Yeah, so it's like the privileges that come along with it. So let me just give an overview of what this DR and W mean, but later on we'll come to know them deeper. One stands for read, and then another one stands for write, yeah, and then this one stands for execute, yeah, and then the D here is usually used to stand for a directory, yeah. So also the first, let's focus on this line here. So you'll come to realize that this D is the type of what is there. So RWXR, that's for the root user. The root is like the administrator. And then this one, X and R, will handle the groups. Yeah, there are also groups of users that are available in Linux systems. And then the X stands for normal users. Yeah, and then let's say you wanted to view the specific contents of a specific folder. So you can do an ls and then -l. Let's say you wanted to know what is in the public. You see, just a moment. Yeah, like that. So in the public, there is nothing in there. As you can see, the total is 0. There is nothing in there. So that is how you navigate and know what is there in the specific file, in the specific folder. And then let's now learn how to copy files. So let's try to go back to where we were. I believe we are on the same page. We'll have a session for questions as time progresses, but now let's just focus on what we have here. So we're in the root. Yeah, we had created 2 files ago. That is the test and the test2. So another thing before I teach you about the copying concept, what if you wanted to move one step backwards? So CD is usually, as you have said, it means a change directory. And then from there you put a space and then you put 2 dots. 2 dots is usually used to mean we go one step behind. So as you can see, I've moved from desktop to the root folder. So we can go back to the desktop. And also the tab button is usually used for auto completion. So when in the desktop folder, let's say we wanted to copy, let's do an ls one more time. What if you wanted to copy the content of test2 into another file known as test3? So let's write, but before that, let me teach you how to that's how you open a file for editing. Use the command nano. Others can use vim. Later on, you'll see how the vim command is used, but nano is much easier. So this is our the file we are using. So what if we want now to save the changes? You just press Ctrl X to exit, and then you press Y, which means that you have accepted the saving process. Yeah. So that's how you you edit a file. Use the nano command to view a file or to edit a file. So what if we wanted to view it? So we can just say cut. Cut is usually used to view it. I believe you're taking notes along the process. So test2.txt. So you can see this is the output.
Sorry, Kevin, have a question.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
I saw you after you finished typing in the test2.txt.
Yes.
You said you press Ctrl Y.
Let me just a moment. I'll repeat that process. Maybe I've gone too fast on there. Just a moment. I'll repeat it. The process that I've went through. Just a minute. So that is now the cut is usually used to view the content. Let's handle this question first. So we had used nano.
No, actually create a new file.
We create a new file.
Yes.
Okay, to create a new file, you have said you use the command touch. Let's name it test3.txt. Yeah. And then we use the ls command to view, and as you can see, the test3 has been created. Now, from there, let's now get into Steve's question. He was asking about the saving and the editing process that are used in that procedure. So let's first get into that file. So nano test3.txt. Yeah, we are now inside that file. Let's write. This is yeah. So we have been able to insert some content into that file. So the sentence is, this is our first sentence. So as you can see in the bottom here, we have some instructions here, as you can see that I'm highlighting. So the OR value, this symbol is used to mean control. So Control G is used to get help. Continuously to the right to cut is Control K and things like such. But now the first thing is to exit. Now to exit, you press Control X.
Yeah, that
Yes.
was my question, because
yeah,
I am not I have not used CentOS before. I am, let's say for example, I use Kali, yeah, and I'm a big fan user of Nano, and normally how I would save data is by first pressing Control O, then hit Enter, then Control X to exit. So
yeah, that's still another option. Yeah, it's still applicable, but it depends with the way you want to administer. But we will get to that level in later. You'll come to understand why we use this one, not the other one. especially when trying to write apps, doing some scripts and things of the such. So at that stage, let's first just cover the basic bit. And as we advance progressively, we will be able to know what fits in where. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So we had said that you press the Control X to exit, and then you'll see a question here. Save modified buffer. Answering no will destroy the changes. So we can just type Y. We can just type Y or N. Y will mean to save, which is a yes, and no will mean that the changes that we have made, we want them to be discarded. And then cancel, which is a Control C, it's like, no, wait, it means like, wait, just a moment, let me go back, make a change, and then save. Yeah. So for now, we want to save it, and then we'll just press yes. Yeah. So as you said, you can now do a cut on test3.txt. This is our first sentence. Yeah. So that's how you put content into a file. Yeah. I believe we are together up to that point. So we are now proceeding to copying files. So what if we want to copy the the file test3 into a new file test4? Yeah. So to do that, we will we'll use the command cp. Cp directly means to copy, and then now we'll do cp. What is the file? Test3.txt. We copy it to where? Another file. Let's name it duplicate. Yeah, just that. Just that. So we have said you copy. What are you copying? Test3. You're copying it to where? A new file known as duplicate.txt. So this command does two things simultaneously. It copies and still at the same time creates the new file duplicate.txt. So when we do an ls, you can see that we have a new file here, which is duplicate.txt. Yeah. So I believe that is clear. So we are in the desktop folder. I want us to go back. To go back is the cd command. At this moment, I would like us to learn to copy files. Just a moment. Let's learn how to now to create a folder. So let's go back, just go back to the desktop. Yeah. So from here, to create a folder, we usually create it using mkdir. What does mkdir mean? Anyone? Steve, kindly assist in the coordination of questions. Anyone to try? Just mkdir, what do you think that means? mkdir, anyone?
Yeah, we have Emmanuel from the chat who has said it's make directory.
He's saying?
Make directory.
Okay, that's a good attempt of which it's correct. So mkdir is directory, making a directory. You know, a directory is like that hierarchy. So the main level type of hierarchy system that is used to manage files in Linux is directories or folders, and then the folders are organized in a directory. So we can make a directory. Just a moment. Directory known as data. Yeah, we have created it. So we can do an ls-lrt, as you had said. You see, it's now a directory. The other ones are not directories, like, or rather, let's call it a folder. To those maybe will be used to the folder. So we have the test2, the duplicate, and the duplicate. So we can also confirm what we did by checking what the contents of the duplicate.txt. You see, this is our first sentence. I believe you remember it was amended in the test3, and then now the duplicate has moved to duplicate.txt. Yeah. So from there, so what if we wanted to make a directory inside a directory, like a hierarchical kind of thing? So we will use mkdir, and then we use a -p, yeah, and then you say what you can call it files, and then you name it something like Kevin, yeah. So we have something like that. So we have made a folder inside another folder to form, that's like the directory that we'll be using. So we can do an ls-lrt. Just a moment. I think this command came up as an update of future variants. I'm not currently on the latest version, but some variants of CentOS accept this command. Just a moment. We'll try to see how we can get on to that. Yeah, so we have learned about copying. Let's clear this. And then I want us to do one more task. So what if we wanted to copy the contents of one file into another directory? So we have want to copy test2.txt from where we are to the data directory. So to do that, we'll do a cp, as we have always been doing, test2.txt into where? Into the folder known as data. Yeah. So just that we have moved it to the folder known as data. So whenever we move to just a moment.
You can try removing the slash in front of data. No, you remove slash in front of data.
Oh, yeah. Oh, let me go back.
I think you'll have to go back.
Yeah, we are now in data. So I believe we can now repeat the same. And then we check. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, so I had placed a slash there before. So the date, it will just identify naturally that data is a folder, and then from there it will copy that content into that folder. So I believe that is the main thing. And what if we wanted to cut? Yeah, so let's navigate to data. Yeah, so we have test2 over there. So what if we wanted to cut it? Let's create a file, a new file here. Let's name it cut.txt. What if we wanted to cut it from where we are to the previous folder? So to cut, we use the command mv. Yeah, it's like move it from here. We are moving what? cat.txt and then we move it back one folder to the previous one. So let's move. I think that will work. Yeah, it has worked. We have moved back one folder using this command. So it will cut this cat.txt one folder behind, and then when you do a list, you see we have the cat.txt file in there. So when you move to the data folder, it will now be empty. Oh, it will be left with the test2 then that you had copied, but the cat will not be there. Yeah, so I believe now that concept has been understood. So that is how we move from that to the other. And then now another thing, let's focus on deleting of files. So let's do to have an organized. So yeah, something like that. So let's say we wanted to delete, yeah, wanted to delete a file like test2. We'll use the command rm, and then rm, and then the name of the file. So it will be test2.txt, and it will ask you rm remove regular file test2.txt. You can just type a y for yes, and then we enter to accept it. Now we can confirm whether test2 is there. You see test2 is now missing. So that is how you delete files in the Linux system. So at the moment, there is a concept known as hard and soft symbolic links. It's somewhat advanced. Later on in the session, we'll be getting into them. So I believe we are done with files, test files. That's the main thing that we are supposed to do. So maybe until that point, whether there could be any question.
Maybe I can ask.
Yes?
I'm asking, like, in Windows, there is the second bin and delete something. Does Linux have such kind of thing?
Kindly be audible. You're not that audible.
I'm asking.
Yes.
In Windows, there's the recycle bin option when you delete something. Does Linux have recycle bin?
Yes. Yes. Some Linux variants do have recycle bins. Just a moment. I think it's usually under trash. You see what's currently here in my screen. So depending on the setup that you have, you see currently mine is empty. This is like the recycle bin in various Linux distros. Depending on the configuration, you will come to see. You may find the files there. Sometimes it may not be there, just depending on how the settings are. So that's like the replacement that is usually there. Some may call it trash, some may call it bin. Yeah, that's how it's usually like. So I believe that has answered your question.
So let me ask again. Like,
Yeah.
if someone deletes something from terminal, does it go to the recycle bin?
Sometimes it does.
Or
I've
is
said
it?
that depending on the configuration and also the variant of Unix that you are using. So it's like a 50-50 affair. Yeah.
So I actually
Some
don't
may
think
take them there by default. Some, like this one, you see default, it's not taking them. Yes?
yeah. So maybe just to answer that, when you delete something on the terminal, I don't think it goes to the recycle bin. It gets deleted forever. But let's say, for example, you are, maybe you can try this. Go to a book, go to your desktop. Yeah, try delete cut, move to trash. Just move it to trash. Move it to trash. No, there's an option to move it to trash. Okay. When you check your trash, you should find the cut.txt. Yeah, but when you delete something from the terminal, I tend to think it gets deleted forever. You can't retrieve it.
Let's try to delete it. Let's try to delete it via this.
No, just try to move it to trash. There's an option there.
I'm not
just
used
down
to
there.
that.
Yeah. How about you?
Under rename.
Pardon?
Pole to, oh, yeah, just under rename.
Oh, move. Oh, yeah, I've seen it. Move to trash. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes
That's like
to the
safer
trash.
way.
But
yeah,
when you delete it from the terminal, it gets deleted for good.
Yeah, there it is. At least it's another method that maybe I've learned today. So back to the terminal. Yeah. So maybe the next thing that we will try to look at the moment, connectivity to an external server, but let's now focus on users. Yeah, let's move back to. So I believe we have managed at the moment to cover files and folders. Now we are trying to move to the concept of users. Also, as we progress, remember that we are not doing everything. You are just having something like a basic continuity, a basic level approach that even if we may leave you at the moment, you may be able to have that continuity by your own. I believe that most of the things you are doing, you will be able to try them also on your own. Just a moment. So before we go to users, let's learn about the groups and then progressively manage how to manage them. Yeah, so let's move to this directory. Yeah, we're in the home. We're in the home folder. Yeah, so let's do an ls-l to be a little bit specific. Yeah, this is what I was trying to find. So currently, there are two users in the system. There's Kevin and there's the root user. So whenever you move to the home folder, inside it, there are also directories that have users in it. So whenever I'm user Kevin and I move to the Kevin, I'll by default be taken to the Kevin directory where I will be able to make files from there and other things. Yeah. So progressively, also you'll come to learn that a user has an ID. An ID is like that identification that is usually used to like the unique number that is usually used to identify that person. So for instance, ID Kevin, and then you see there's something here known as a user ID. The user ID for Kevin is 500, and then the GID for Kevin is also 500. That is the group ID, and then the groups, that's 500. So there's also a group known as Kevin. Yeah, so there are users and there are also groups. So I would like you to understand that very well. So from there, so let's say we wanted to add a user. So there are two options to add a user. So there's the user add. Let's name the user Mercy, and then we have it. Yeah. So what if we do an ls-l? We have Kevin and we have Mercy. So this is like the shorter way of adding a user. So for instance, we wanted to add a user and other properties or other details of the user. So we'll twist the two names and use the add user, and we'll have a user like John. Yeah. So just a moment. There's some CentOS variants in which the add user um, will prompt you for details. So depending on the variant of Linux that or CentOS that you're using, you'll be asked for details like the phone number, the fax, the email, and things of the such. But mine at the moment does not have that option. So once again, we can, let's say, find the ID of Mercy. It will be different. You see, Mercy will be 501, the GID 501, and groups will be also 501. Yeah. So that's how it's usually like. So at this moment, I believe we have learned how to create a user. But what if we wanted to create a group and then see how we can manipulate users that are under that group? You will come to find before we create it, groups are an advantageous kind of system when you're trying to manage the security, in the sense that you can set some privileges for some groups and others may lack those privileges. So to create a group, before we delve into more functionalities in the group, it's just a group add. Group add, let's name it sales. Yeah. You see, there's not that much of a change, but we'll come to see later on how we can manipulate it. But in the meantime, remember, let's just remember the moment we have created the group known as sales. Yeah. So it's usually done using the group add command. So let's say before we proceed to the sales and not learn how we can manipulate it, let's say we wanted to delete a user. So we can say user del. The user del command is usually to be used to delete that user. Now, there are two options of deleting: to delete only that user, and also the second option is to delete that user and the contents, or rather like the folder. So for instance, we wanted to remove John. If you wanted to remove John alone, to no longer be a user of the system, we just use the user del John. Yeah. Now I want you to note this. And then when you do an ls-l, we still have the folder John. Yeah. So what if now we'll try it out with Mercy, user del, and then we'll do a -r. I hope this one will work. Mercy. You see, the -r is a recursive process. Recursively, we are not only deleting the user, but you are also deleting the user's home directory. Yeah. So we no longer have a user called John, but we still have John's data in the system. I believe everyone has understood that concept. If maybe there may be someone who has not understood, I'll be willing to repeat. Could there be anyone who has not understood it? Any question on the chat box regarding that concept? I can't see the chat box on my side, but if a question could arise from that concept, so just a moment. So let's create another user. I will create a user called Alex. So what if we wanted to lock the account of Alex? So it's just the normal locking of an account and unlocking it. Yeah. So we will use the user mode command to lock that, and then a -L to lock that account, -L, and then from there the name of the person with that account, Alex. Yeah. So the account is locked. Yeah. So from there, let's say so Alex. As you can see, Alex cannot do anything. Just a moment. This is the command that is, oh, sorry. Also, to move to the administrative command, the administrative function, we use the command sudo. Yeah, sudo is like the administrator of that system. So you'll just say sudo usermod -L Alex to lock that account. Yeah. Alex had no password. So just a moment. I think I've forgotten. Let me try to. Okay, so just a moment while we kindly allow me to reboot. Just a moment. Yeah, so we are on the concept of locking. So what if you wanted to unlock? We use the -U command, and then it type the user, let's say someone like Alex. Yeah, so as you can see, U is used to unlock the user account, and then the -L is used to lock that account. That was what I was trying to explain on that practical aspect that I was trying to give. Sorry for that hindrance. So maybe from there, now we will look at something else. Maybe up to that point, if there could be a question. Maybe up to that point, if there could be a question. Yes, so yeah, so I wanted to show a demo. What if we wanted to change the password of John? So simple, that's the command that we had used. Pass WD, and then you say John. That is the account that you're trying to change. Oh, I think we had deleted. So let's add another user. User add Philip. So when we add the user called Philip, we can change the password of Philip. Yeah, and then the new password is the update has been done successfully. So that is how you change the password of that user into a new password. Yeah, so also the file that is usually used to house the configurations that are made to a user account. It's this one. Yeah, so I believe from here you can view the users that are available. So we have Philip, we have Alex, and we have Kevin. The file that was used is we have moved to the home folder, and then from there we move to the etc and pass wd file. So it's like just like that. Yeah. So also there is another one known as etc and shadow. Yeah. This one is used to give more details about the file, let's say the logs and things of the such. So don't mind about the numbers that much. It just like viewing, it's more of a complex file that is used to view the users. So you have here Philip, the Alex that you have created, and then the Kevin. So that those are like the three existing users in the system. So maybe as a research, you can try to find out what is the meaning of the grep, the contents of this file, the etc shadow. So maybe that's some assignment you could research on. So maybe the last folder. we said that for each and every person, there's the group that he or she is usually attached to. So you'll come to realize that there's a group called Philip, there's a group called Alex, and there's a group called Sales. Yeah. So Sales, I believe you had remembered that. Let's put that on hold, and then you'll come to learn how you manipulate the groups. So the group Sales, we'll come to manipulate it shortly, and then I believe we can know what to do from there. Yeah, so just a moment. So we will try to cover something to do with permissions. Yeah, so just a basic permission aspect that is usually here. So I'm trying to find these files. So Steve, there's someone on the waiting line in the admission room. Kindly admit that person. Just a moment. So let's do an ls. Yeah, so you had briefly described the permission, so we'll try to cover something about them. So there are two aspects that are usually used to manage files, to manage permissions. So there's the read, just a moment. So we will try to, let's create a quick file here. Yeah, so here's where we'll write some notes about permissions. So file permissions are usually changed using the chmod command. That is how you change permissions in the system. And then there are various levels of permissions. The first one is the read. Second one is the write. Then the last one is execute. So read means that you can only view the contents of that file. The write means you can modify that file to write on it, to write something on it, and then to execute. Maybe it was something like a script or something like a code. You have the permission to run the content of that file. So I believe this may be the simplest way I could have used to explain it. So read is usually symbolized by 4. Yeah. And then exec write is usually symbolized by, sorry. The write is usually symbolized by 2, and then the execute is usually symbolized by 1. Yeah. So also there are types of users. There are 3 types of users. There is the users, that's the general. Ones are like the first index. I'll come to show you the first index of the DRWX, the one that you're seeing. Remember the 3 columns that I had shown. The second one is the groups. And then the third one, just a moment. And then the third one is others. People who have not yet been in the system. So that's like the third. Yeah. So so we will give some quick example. Let's say we had a number like 7, 6, and 0. Yeah. So let's put them. Let's put 7, 6, and 0. So I believe my screen is visible. So the first one is the first index. So you remember I said this one is this one is the third index. Yeah. So the first index, which is 7, this 7 here is used to represent the users. Okay. The second group, just a moment. The second index, is used to represent the groups. Okay. And then the third index is used to represent other people who maybe are not in the system. Yeah. So that's just know it's a 1, 2. It's a 1, 2, 3 kind of thing. Yeah. So and then from there we have now this aspect. So when you do 4 plus 2 and plus 1, you get 7. Yeah. So you will come to see that you can read, you can write, and you can execute. Anytime there's a 4, it means read. A 2, it means you can write, and then a 1, you can execute. So it means that the users have all 3 permissions. Yeah. And then for the second one, the 6 is used to represent the group. So they can do a 4 plus 2, which is equals to 6. And then a 0 means nothing. Yeah, I think I've tried to explain it in the simplest way possible. It's a commonly used concept in system administration, especially for file security, but maybe it may be somehow tough to understand from the first bit, but maybe when you're used to the system, you'll come to understand it deeply. So any question on that concept before we progress? Any question? Okay, so it seems as if everything is fine. So we will try a simple task. Yeah, So we'll try a simple task. We will try to assign permissions to the desk.txt. So you have said that the command that is used to change the permission is the chmod. You're changing that mode of the mode in which the file will be accessed. So we have given an example. We use the example of 7, 6, and 0. The first one is for the users. The second one is for the groups, and then the other one is for others. Yeah. So chmod 760. And then what are you modifying? The desk.txt file. Let's do a test3. Test3.txt. Yeah. Aha, we have done it. So we can do yeah. I believe you can see there's some changes that have been done. So I want us to view. We said that the first one is for the users. You see, they can read, write, and execute. The first 3 letters are for the users. The 6, we said that the 6 over here, it was for the read and write. So it was 4 plus 2, which was equal to 6. So you can see that it's just an RW, and then they cannot do the last function, which was execute, represented by 1. And then the 0, the other users can do nothing. So it's somehow the last 3 are empty. The last, let me highlight it one more time. So the last 3 are empty. So that is how it is used to represent that aspect. Yeah. So I believe at that point we may be able to. I think we can stop at that point, not unless there is a question. I believe we have covered most of the things. We have done permissions, we have done users, the basic commands, and also changing the files. So you'll come to realize that there is more to what you have done, but at least this one will cover most of the basics that are required for you to understand. So maybe if there could be a question up to that point. I believe I'll stop the sharing of my screen. Any question up to that point? I think we are. I think maybe. Could there be anyone, maybe the questions or remarks? I'll just give a minute as we wait.
Recording in progress.
Okay then. Steve, could you be there?
Hello, yes, Kevin, I'm here. Kevin, I'm here.
Yeah, maybe if you could give your closing remarks, because I don't see anything on my side.
Okay, so thanks guys for attending this session. And I was disconnected for a moment. I didn't know what you did during the last bit, but I believe the recording is available. I will watch it. So I don't know, Kevin, if you mentioned CentOS and something like Ubuntu is a bit different in terms of packages. For example, how I will update my Ubuntu or how I will install packages in Ubuntu is different from CentOS. For example, let's say I want to install something like curl or wget or nmap. I'll typically do sudo apt install, something like that. So maybe you can talk about package managers before we wind up the session on a brief note.
Okay, that is fine. First of all, we start by defining what is a package. A package is like a software or something like an application or a service. Let's call it some may consider it to be a service that is usually used to perform a specific function. For example, we have a package called bind. It's commonly used in DNA, in networking and things of such. So you'll come to find that it's not pre-installed in some operating systems, but on the later session, I'll give a practical approach to this. So the bind application is not installed in the same way. The command that is used to install it is not the same way in one Unix distribution and the other. Some will use the command yum, Y-U-M, others will use DNF, others will use apt. Yeah, so it's like a management of the kernel. That's how it's usually done in general. So progressively, maybe in the next sessions, we'll come to understand package management. That's a topic on its own. And how will you be able to know what packages are there? How do you download a package? How do you delete a package? How do you update a package and other functionalities that revolve around it? And also maybe in advance, maybe we can have an assignment later on of how you create your own package. Yeah. So progressively we'll come to understand that. I think maybe I've answered that question.
Okay, thank you.
Could there be anything else?
Personally, not on my side.
So someone to kindly pray for us as we conclude the session. Anyone, please. Okay, let us pray. Our loving Father, come before you this evening. We thank you and uplift your holy name because of the great things that you have done unto us, and especially from the beginning of this session. We are very thankful because of what you have learned and the grace to continued strength. Now, as we come to the end, we thank you and would like to also to protect us as we leave each other, that we may sleep well, and also we may be able to have a good day tomorrow, Lord. Believing that none of us shall be affected by any adversities or anything negative, but shall continue making us stronger under the glory of your name. For this we pray and believing in Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay. Have a blessed night.